What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the show. I hope you've enjoyed the first few videos. I did it again. I'm trying not to say and so too much, but it's a real problem because I just keep fucking saying it. So we'll try my absolute best not to say that, but it is going to happen. Today we are going to do a nice little sandwich. Now, what I want to do is, because I've eaten so much food over the last few days, because it's Christmas and all that, I want something a little bit healthier. So I want to do a chicken kind of salad wrap. I was going to do a sandwich, but then I realised I still had some of my tasty tortilla wraps left from when I did the when I did the breakfast wrap yesterday. So what I want to do is use that up because I don't want to go to waste. You get like 3 or 4 days out of this stuff before it starts to go a bit off and manky. So what I'm going to do is roast up some chicken for the sandwich. I've got some cos lettuce, which I think I've put in the fridge. I just want to check that I have done that. Yes, I have. And I'm going to keep it super simple. I just want chicken, really delicious roast chicken, lettuce sliced up, maybe a nice little mayonnaise sauce, maybe a bit of relish in there, and that's kind of it. We do have some cheese that we're going to try. We could try one with a bit of cheese in there maybe, but I think that's just going to overcomplicate it. I don't know. Sandwiches can be made far too complicated, I find, and really a good sandwich or wrap can be, well, it should just be, as simple as possible, really. I mean, I love cooking sandwiches and wraps and all sorts of stuff like that, so I want to start doing those as well on the channel and just take you through some of my favourite sandwiches. Some of them are a bit of a faff. Like this one, for instance, it could be a lot easier, but I want to also show you what I do for my chicken. And I do this all the time to do stuff for the week. I think it's a really good thing to do at the weekend. It takes about 3 hours in the oven because we're going to slow cook the chicken. Sorry, that's an aeroplane. If you can hear that, I apologise. So we're going to, I want to just take you through, I thought this was a good opportunity to take you through what I do for this this chicken here. So I'm going to just do the old one dirty hand trick that I picked up from the Franklin's barbecue guy. So always keep one hand clean and one hand for your kind of handling your meat, and then that way you're not cross-contaminating anything. So essentially, although I just did touch that then, but anyway, what are we going to do? So what we're going to do is get our chicken legs, and these are just nice organic free-range chicken drumsticks. Really good tasty chicken. And I have by the way, I do have the cricket on in the background as it's the Boxing Day test. So if you hear me whoop or something, it's because a wicket's gone down or something exciting's happened. So I'll try not to distract you guys too much. So first of all, I like to put this in a cast iron pan. This is just a chasseur pan, but if you've got like a Le Creuset, if you're fancy, or something similar to this, loads of companies do them now. It's a really good investment. They are quite expensive, but I mean, I've had this, 6 years and it's still fine. I mean, you do chip the edges and bits and bobs sometimes, but as long as you're reasonably careful with it, it kind of works out pretty good. So you get a long time out of it. Just don't use metal utensils in it because it will scratch, and then if you scratch off the enamel it will rust because it's cast iron, so it is prone to rust if you're not careful with it. So but if you're careful with it, I mean, you'll get years and years out of these things. So and if you just look out for the deals when you see one, then it's great. I mean, I think this is a 28 centimetre one, which is a great size. So for doing soups and stocks and stews and roasting stuff in it, you can even fit a whole roast chicken in this if you want to. So we might do that one day as well, and I'll show you how I do my roast chicken in it. I mean, it's pretty simple, really. I'm just going to wash my hands quick. So I keep saying there's that so again, fucking hell. So I've got the oven on about 130 degrees. If you want to slow cook meat, just remember the 130 degree rule basically. That's 130 degrees centigrade. So you can do the maths to work out what that is in Fahrenheit. If you keep meat to that kind of temperature, then for slow cooking, whether it's pork or chicken or beef or whatever it is, lamb, it's a good way to know it's that right temperature. Just work to around that sort of heat. So all this is just put the chicken in the pan, got some nice just extra virgin olive oil. I'm just going to drizzle that. We don't need a huge amount of oil really, because so there's maybe a couple of teaspoons there. Because you've got fat in the chicken, like the skin, that does render down a bit and, you know, do what it needs to do. So you don't need to use too much oil. It just stops it initially sticking, but because we're cooking it so low, and because I'm going to put the lid on when it's in the oven, it's going to kind of steam and roast in there, so it keeps all the moisture in there. And then at the end of this, when we get to that point, I'll show you, you get about an inch's worth of really nice concentrated like chicken stock essentially, and you can keep that and do anything you want with it, you know, add more. Once we strip all the chicken off these bones, you can put those back in with that stock, add in a bit of water, some veggies, get it on the hob, get that simmering for a couple of hours, and there's some chicken stock. It's yeah, super good. So I'm just doing some Maldon salt. Again, I use Maldon salt because it's my favourite salt. I actually really I understand how much I need to put in because I've used it almost all my life. So so just find a salt that you know how salty it is, and that might sound weird saying how salty salt is, but different salt has different levels of saltiness. So the reason I like Maldon salt is it can really help bring out the flavours without making stuff too salty. So yeah, I think it's really great. Although in Australia it's super expensive, but what are you going to do? I just have to get my hand dirty again. So that's just salt, pepper, olive oil, and I've seasoned that. And I'm just going to just rub this around a bit just to get that coated through it. And that wasn't a huge amount, probably a largish pinch of salt sprinkled around, and then a pretty nice few grates of pepper. And that's about what we want to do. And then just sort of get them kind of, they can be all squished up on each other, so you can kind of see they're just sort of in the pan like that. And then that's kind of it. I mean, if you want to add more flavours or get funky with it, then at this point, you can kind of add whatever you want depending on what you're going to do with it. So you can do a kind of paprika-y kind of roast chicken and just sprinkle some paprika and like toss it round. You can do an Asian style thing, so you can slice some thick slices of ginger, garlic, some big chunks of spring onion or salad onions, I think you call them, some people do, and then a little splash of soy sauce. And you can make your own little soy sauce, little drumstick things, and from that you can turn it into a really delicious Asian stir fry thing, or you know, you do what you want with it. But this is just a really good base initially, and it's my favourite way to cook chicken. It does take a bit of time, but that's why it's a good weekend thing to do, because once we've done this, we're going to get quite a lot of meat off this, which is going to last at least 3 or 4 days for me, putting them in sandwiches or I mean, what I'll probably do is a video tomorrow and we'll turn it into something else. I don't know what we're going to do. I'll see what I fancy. So maybe I'll do a chicken fried rice, or I don't know, maybe a soup. It's not really soup weather because it's like 40 degrees outside, but the English in me likes soup sometimes, so maybe we'll do that. But it's yeah, we'll see what we do. We'll see where we get to with it. So if you see any little bits and bobs you don't want on there, you might get the odd feather still on the skin, you can just pluck that off. But apart from that, we're pretty good. I mean, when I shred this off, we're pretty much going to ditch off all the fat and, I mean, the skin and all the stuff. We're just going to get the meat from it. So, and I like these drumsticks because they are quite meaty, so you do get quite a lot of meat off it. And it's the cheapest cut to buy. So I was getting 3 drumsticks in a pack for about $4. Well, between $4 and $5 depending on how big they are. So it's pretty cheap really, because not many people over here in Australia like meat with the bone in, especially chicken, which I much prefer it with the bone in because it goes a lot more, excuse the water sounds, yeah, it goes a lot more tender, I find, when the bone's in there. So, but you try and find a chicken thigh with bone in, it's difficult. Well, in a supermarket, it's impossible over here, but I don't really get my meat from supermarkets too often. This brand I get from my kind of local supermarket that's a bit of a fancier place, because I know this chicken's good. But otherwise I'd normally go to my butcher's and get it. So, and he does his thighs with bone in and stuff. So yeah, so there we go. There's that. If you wanted to, you could put a splash of white wine in there. But for this, I don't really want that flavour in there, because in a sandwich it might taste weird. So this is just as simple as it gets. I mean, I could, if I wanted to, put in like a clove of garlic, but again, I think I'm good with it like this. Like the chicken's so good and it's got so much flavour that other than just a bit of salt and pepper, you don't really need to do a whole lot with it. I might just put a tiny bit more salt in there because it needs a touch more, and then just a final little smidge more pepper. Yes, perfect. And that's it. That's as simple as it gets, really. So chicken, olive oil, salt, pepper, toss it around, done, lid on. Just make sure that's fully on, and then oven preheated to 130 degrees. Pop it in, set the timer for 3 hours, and off you go. Just go and chill out, put the cricket on, do whatever. And that's about it. So what we'll do is we'll come back in 3 hours, so set your timer for 3 hours, and then we'll be back through the magic of editing, and I will show you the next step that we do to prepare these wraps. Right, we are back. So chicken has been in the oven for 3 hours, approximately, maybe a little bit longer. I'm just gonna, this is a cos lettuce, just gonna do a few of these leaves, just peel them off. Just give them a little rinse under the sink. And then we're going to just give them cut them up, stick them in the salad spinner, and then we will go on and do the chicken. So what happens next with the chicken, we'll get it out the oven, which I might do that now while we're doing this, and we let it rest for a few minutes. Actually, I need a slightly bigger tea towel, or I'm going to burn myself. Actually, a top tip, don't use a damp tea towel to get stuff out the oven, so make sure it's completely dry. If it's damp, it will heat up a lot quicker and you'll burn yourself. So I'm just going to pop this to one side just while we prepare the lettuce, and that'll be fine just like that. So with the lettuce, yeah, just keep giving it a little bit of a rinse. So just literally with this, you just run it under the sink and just let some water run over it, and that's pretty much enough, really. Like, cos lettuce is pretty good, really. It doesn't get a lot of dirt on it. And then what you can do, if you do a bit extra, once you wash it and spin it to dry it out, you can put it in the fridge and it will keep for 2 or 3 days, because you've got a lot of the moisture out of it. And yeah, it's great just to chuck in stuff as we're going. So I know this does seem like a bit of a faff of a recipe, that it's like 3 hours long just to do the chicken, but the idea of this is you do this chicken on the weekend, and then you've got a big load of shredded chicken left over, which you can then do a wrap like this for lunch with, and it's super quick. So and again, if you prepare the lettuce and do a batch of that as well, then you've got this for a few days. So we're just going to slice that lengthways like that. And again, some people say not to cut lettuce, that you should tear it, but again, if you've got a really sharp knife, it's not the reason people say not to cut it, because it bruises the lettuce and then you get those brown edges. But if you've got a super sharp knife like this, you can just, I'm just sort of dragging it through really gently, and and then you've got your little bits like that, which is kind of great. Or if you wanted to go slightly finer with the chop, then just do really gentle cuts through. If you just want to shred it, and again, I'm not going too fast with it. You don't need to show off and be fancy with your chopping skills, really. So, though it is nice to do it quick sometimes if you do want to show off, but you don't really want to injure yourself. So you just got to be a bit careful. So that's it basically, and then we just give that a little spin, and you can see kind of how much, I don't know if you can see how much water, just a fair bit in there. So the more water you can get out of this, the better, because with salad, it's the water content that causes the big problem in terms of it going off. So if you can pull as much water, give it a wash and pull as much water out of that as possible, it will actually last quite a long time in the fridge. So then I'm just going to transfer that into this thing, and there's some nice washed lettuce. Perfect. And that will last for a few days in the fridge easily, so I'll be able to do something with that tomorrow. So what I'll do is I'll shred this chicken up, but I'll just show you a couple of them how I do it, and then we'll cut the rest of it out because you don't really need to see me shredding chicken. I'm sure that's not particularly exciting. So the chicken, here it is. Let me just get my tea towel, because that's the thing. Remember, these cast iron pans, they hold their heat for a long time, so it will be hot for a while. So yeah, it's all kind of all reduced down. See all that liquid in it? It's absolutely beautiful. So what I might do is I might just actually put that in a bowl. There's a bigger bowl in case I need it, but I'll leave the liquid in there for the minute. So to shred it, I mean, really you just need, so I've got a little bowl there for the bones, and then a bigger bowl for the actual chicken. And you can just see it just sort of pulls apart really nicely. I mean, I could have probably given this a little bit longer if I wanted to, but see, that's great. That's all I really need to do with it. And then I'm going to pull off I don't really want the skin and stuff from it, really. I'll keep all these bones and turn them into a stock, which we might do later. So I'll just show you what to do with that. And once you've done your stock, you can chuck it in some little, freezable containers and freeze them off into just those sort of standard takeaway size sort of plastic pots that you get. What I'm doing here also, I'm just snipping off the little ligamenty bits, these like kind of gelatinous bits, because you don't really want to bite through those in your sandwich. But they contain great flavour, so we are going to keep them and stick them in our stock. I should probably got a bigger bowl, that's going to fill up very quick. And so yeah, I'll do one more, and then we'll cut through to it all being done. So again, just sort of tease it to open with your knife, and it should all just come apart in nice chunks, and it's all like perfectly cooked. You don't have to worry about that because it's been in there for 3 hours. So even though it's only on low, it will be fine. So yeah, so there's some more chicken there. It's all looking good, and as you can see, it's kind of different sizes and chunks and stuff, so you can keep it kind of random, although there's a little bit of that cartilage which we don't want. I mean, if you cook it for even longer, that kind of cartilage does cook down and go really jelly-like, and it's fine to eat, and it's actually quite good for you as well, with collagen and stuff, which is super good for your bones. Just strip a bit of that off there and into there. So just keep repeating that process through all the chicken that you do, and then this will eventually kind of fill up and be have loads of chicken in it. So, and then these bones, what we're going to do is just cover them, let them cool down, cover them, and then just stick them in the fridge if you're not going to make your stock straight away. But if you are going to make your stock straight away, then just pop them to one side, shred this out, put it in there. And then the liquid in here, you can theoretically keep, but I might actually pour that out into a separate bowl, make some stock with all the bones, and then pour that liquid back in later, maybe. I don't know, we'll see. So we'll cut back soon once this is all done and get on to the next stage of the sandwich. I have finished shredding the chicken, so we've got a nice bowl here with all our bones, and this is all our shredded chicken. So then what I actually did while I was shredding it, I just got a ladle and I kind of drizzled some of this liquid over the chicken as I was shredding it, just so it didn't dry out. And I think that's actually quite a good thing to do with it. I know I was going to save it for something, but this will just, some of this liquid will actually soak back up into that chicken. And then whatever doesn't, it will just sort of form a nice jelly thing. So if you warm it through, you'll get a really nice, beautiful kind of stock coming out of it, depending on what you cook with it. So if you put it back into a soup, and I might do a chicken and sweet corn soup because I really love that soup and I haven't cooked that in ages, so that might be a good thing to do with it. So there's our beautiful chicken that we've all shredded up nicely, and it's just like super soft and tasty and tender and not dry at all. So it's a really good way to cook it. So as you can kind of see, there's all this kind of beautiful liquid, and I don't know, can you kind of see? I'm trying to keep the light on it, but it's just, it's awesome. So, and it's I tasted a bit as I was going, and the seasoning's perfect. So for me, that's great. Now these bones here, I'm just going to put to one side, cover them, let them cool down, and then we'll pop those in the fridge and come back to those when we do our stock, which will be a video coming up in the next few days. So let's do the wrap, shall we? Now I've still got some coleslaw from when I made my ribs the other day. So, and it's still looking pretty good. So this is about, what was it, 2 days that I've had it in the fridge. So it's probably okay still. I made far too much and I tried not to, but let me just try it. And yeah, I think we're good. Tastes all right. I mean, if I die horribly, well, no, it's not any good, but we will take these risks. So yeah, so I think we'll use a bit of that coleslaw in there in this wrap, which I hadn't thought of, and then I realised I had some left over. So that's why we make too much food sometimes, is we can then come up with some great leftovers. So we've got our nice non-stick pan on our little induction hob. What I'm going to do is make a nice little delicious mayonnaise-y thing that's going to go really well with the chicken. So what I want from here is pickles. This is some of this Japanese togarashi pepper, which is awesome. It will give us a nice little zingy kick to it. Lemon juice, I think I've got a bit of a wedge of lemon left in the fridge, so we'll see if we can use that. Let's just get our little knife. So a bit similar to the mayo mix that I did in the other day to make the coleslaw, which is my first video up, which is our smoked barbecue ribs. So go and check that out if you haven't yet. There'll be a link nearby, I'm sure. That's just warming up nicely. I'm just going to turn it down to a 2. It just wants to gently warm. So let's just want to get a, mind you can't see what the hell I'm doing here. I'm just going to move this stuff out of the way. So I just cut a little wedge off that, which will squeeze into here. I always like putting in a little bit of kind of lemon or something a bit sour into it, just to cut through the richness of mayonnaise. I mean, mayonnaise and chicken, if you're doing like a chicken salad sandwich or wrap, I think you've got to get going with that, throwing it everywhere. So mayonnaise, a little pinch of salt, nice lot of black pepper. I love black pepper, so I use it a lot, and it is really good for you, so don't be afraid of it. Some of this togarashi pepper, which is this kind of Japanese stuff you can get from most Japanese supermarkets, or a lot of even supermarkets start selling it now. So yes, there's a bit of that. Then I'm going to put a bit of this pickle liquid in there, because it's like a vinegary sweet kind of vibe going on. So just a little splash of that, and then that's probably a teaspoon, and then a little lemon wedge just squeezed in as well, just like that. And then we'll give it a little mix up. I should probably be using a fork. And this is going to have a nice kind of citrusy, peppery deliciousness to it, with a little bit of heat from that Japanese chili pepper. It's not very spicy. It's just, yeah, really nice. So you might need to just mix this a little bit, because it will, if you can see, it goes a little bit lumpy initially because of the lemon, like the acid in the lemon, and probably the vinegar from there actually. But just a nice mix like that, and that gives you a really awesome little mayonnaise dip. I always like to jazz up things like mayonnaise and things like that, because they're fine as they are, but I just find it's a bit boring. So, and you can really add some really nice flavors, and a lot of the time it really helps to cut through the richness of something like a mayonnaise, you know. So I can find that it's a bit overpowering sometimes. So let's give that a wipe. So this is doing its thing nicely, getting a bit of heat through it. So what we're going to do, I've got a little fork here. I know that was for the coleslaw. Let's try and not cross-contaminate things. There's our awesome chicken that's ready to go into the sandwich. I'm going to get our lettuce out. And then I might pop in a bit of I'm a bit of a stickler for tomato relish, so I'm going to pop a bit of that in. But you can kind of mix this up however you want, you know. It's really up to you what you want to do. You could put cheese in it, like grate some cheddar or Gouda, or, you know, whatever you fancy in it. But I don't think this really needs cheese in there. So now try and find a good way to roll it. I want the wider side going this way. So I'm going to pop in, I'm going to do this first, a bit of this relish on the base of it, and then we're going to just spread it out nicely like that. Perfect. Then what are we going to put in there first? Always think about the process that you're going to put this stuff in. I'm going to go chicken at this level, and then, even though I'm probably going to completely fail at this, try not to overfill the wrap, because it will be really hard to fold over. But I always tend to overfill these things. So a nice layer of chicken. Awesome. Then I'm going to do, yeah, maybe a little drizzle of this mayonnaise stuff, and just sort of spread that across the chicken. You don't need too much. You're just kind of just there to loosen things up a bit. That's probably good, especially because we're putting a bit of that coleslaw in there. Then get some of our shredded, mixed up kind of lettuce. We're just going to pop that along here. Nice and fresh and crunchy. You don't need to do anything to this apart from this. You could dress the salad, but I don't see why you would. Seems a bit silly. So that's good. And then let's get our coleslaw. Here's our coleslaw fork. Just give that a nice little mix up, because a lot of the liquid will drop down. So I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm just tossing that around just to freshen it up and bring some of the liquid that sits at the bottom. And then we're just going to do a nice little bit of coleslaw. Delicious. And then I have to remember to take a photo at the end for the thumbnail for the video, because I forgot to do that yesterday for my breakfast wrap, so, which is a bit annoying. So there's a bit of coleslaw. So we've got tomato relish, chicken, some of our awesome peppery mayo. We then do cos lettuce and a little line of the coleslaw. That's probably about right. It's already cooled down quite a bit, so I wonder if I just popped it back in there, it will just warm it through again. Let's try that. This is an idea, let's see if it works. Obviously we don't want to do that too long, because it's going to warm things up, but because we've got the lettuce higher up, I think it might work. And this is what it's always good to adapt as you go. If you think of an idea as you're going along, then give it a go. I mean, it might not work, it might ruin it, who knows. I did that once with smoked paprika, completely ruined my dish. But you learn these things and just try not to make the same mistake again, really. So and then I think what I'm going to do is actually try and keep if I make mistakes, I'll try and keep them in, because you know you're gonna. When I've been cooking for years, like 30 years or something insane, so you are gonna make mistakes and you know fuck things up, but it's all part of the learning process. And don't be disheartened if you do make a mistake with something, because it's not the end of the world, and you just learn next time how to do it better, you know, and then you don't make the same mistake again, and that's how you learn. So I know some people just get a bit put out if they make a mistake or mess up a dish, and I mean it can happen. Normally you can kind of rescue these things, but it's I mean sometimes you can't, and then you just got to get takeaway, but you know that's going to happen sometimes, but it's absolutely fine, it doesn't really matter. These things do happen. So yeah, that's brought a bit of the heat back in there. I think that's looking pretty good. So now I just have to get it out without breaking the bloody thing. So here we go. So I'm going to, this is the tricky bit, we're going to roll it over, tuck it in, and if you need to, if you have put too much stuff in, which it looks like I probably have slightly, then you can, oh bloody hell, see it's tricky. Here we go. And then what you could do if you wanted, I mean you can fold it over, but I've put too much in, so the plan was to fold it over, but that ain't gonna happen now. And then what you can do, I like using crushed avocado or something, but if you just get some, I don't know, a bit of extra relish here, it will just help this side to stick down a bit. I call it wrap glue. Shout out to Ginny if you're watching, we came up with that one cooking our lunches together a few years back. So yeah, there we go. So there's our nice wrap, and then just do some sort of sexy hipster angled cut, and there you go. You've got this awesome, tasty, kind of delicious wrap, which some stuff's just fallen out because I didn't fold it over. But yeah, there you go. It's absolutely delicious. You can make up a load of those if you've got a lunch going on. If you've got any leftover salad, you could dress it, chuck some cucumber and tomato in it, you know, a little vinaigrette, have that with a salad on the side. Even do some potato wedges, or you know, even oven chips. Why not? It'd be nice just on the side there. So you know, you do all sorts of stuff with it and just jazz your lunch up a bit. So, but as something. If you want to do this at work, you easily can. You can bring all this stuff with you, you know, portion out a bit of that shredded chicken, bring some of the lettuce in, bring a relish in, a little bit of this mayonnaise and a couple of wraps, and you can knock that up at work in your work kitchen, easy, no probs. You don't need anything super fancy. I mean, you might not be able to warm the wrap up, but you can pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds, which will do the job. So there we go. So there's my delicious little quick if you've already pre-roasted the chicken, but if not, then it's your 3-hour wrap. But I don't think I'll market it as a 3-hour wrap. So if you've got everything prepared and you've done your chicken the day before, then that's going to take you, what, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? So, but if you're doing it from fresh, then it's going to take you 3 hours and 10 minutes, but it's worth it. So cheers for tuning in, everyone. There's my wrap. I'm going to get a quick shot of it and then we'll get the video up. So thanks a lot for liking, commenting, subscribing. Tell your mates, give me a share online. Follow me at Timmy_foodie on Instagram, or go to timmyfoodie.com. And I've got loads of recipes up there, so you can give a few of those a go. I'll probably try and do some videos of those recipes, like redo them and stick them up on the channel. If there's any tips, techniques, stuff you cook that you struggle with that you'd like to see how I do it, give me a shout in the comments. And yeah, we'll be back very soon. We'll be back with a chicken stock recipe. I'm going to do my famous baked beans on toast recipe, which sounds silly, but I've got a really good way of making it awesome. That isn't too complicated, I promise. And yeah, we'll be back very soon. Cheers for tuning in, everyone.